What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I did actually want to talk about the map and test drive unlimited Solar Crown. Now, I have to admit right now off the bat, if you are wondering, yes, I do like the map. And in fact, it's actually one of my favorite maps in a racing game in the recent time I can think of. Now, I'm not saying like the other games have bad maps. Like I do like Motorfest map, like it's bright, colorful. It's going to be a pretty dope design for the most part. It's obviously going to be an island. Then we're going to be getting the new island. And I would say for like when it does come to a map in a Need for Speed game, I really like Heat's map. And I would say Unbounds is okay, but again, I think Heat is better. Now, a few things I actually really like about the map and test drive, though, is the amount of different places you can go to and like the big diverse and variety of areas that you can actually visit. So looking at the map, guys, you are going to notice that, yeah, we do have like the city parts of it with like the high rises, and it's going to give you like that really dense city type of driving. You're also then going to see the tiny roads in the cities as well, which is actually going to be fairly accurate to Hong Kong. I would most likely guess the roads in that actual city are probably going to be tiny, and you would most likely never see a Ford Raptor going down them. I actually saw something in the blog post talking about this a bit, so they actually did say they did make some of like the off-road trails in the game and also the tinier roads a tad bigger, that way the cars can't fit in them. I would definitely understand that because you don't want to have tiny roads that aren't usable, so it probably does make sense. But I really do like the fact that they actually had the cities in here, guys, and also the hologram type of map they did use in this is pretty dope. I like the detail of it. But I just feel like a lot of people are most likely going to play this map, and they're probably really going to enjoy it. Now, a few things that really did pop out at me about this. Now, I do know this map is apparently, I think, 600 kilometers or something like that squared. I could be wrong, but it's definitely a pretty decent size. I do know one of the games you would most likely directly compare the map size to is probably going to be the Crew Motorfest. I am planning a test on that, guys, to see the difference in map sizes. Do stay tuned for that, but I would probably say they're going to be fairly similar. Part of me wants to think that maybe this game is a bit bigger, but again, going to have to do a tad of testing on that in both games to really see if one game is bigger than the other. But either way, though, I do think both games probably offer their own thing with how the map is designed, so it's really going to be hard to like say, oh, this one's better, no, that one's better. Both games are going to have fun roads and stuff like that. Now, I do actually like the way how this game has a lot of like winding roads everywhere, like this one here. You can then go all the way up this mountain, fly around the mountain here, go off-road, down the mountain into another part of like the coastal area here. Then you can actually head down more and drive right along the coast with the water in the background. You see like the sun setting. Then you're also going to have the mountains on one side, the big towers and all these crazy looking buildings. It just really is a great looking and well designed map, at least from what I have seen so far. On top of that, guys, I did actually make a video about the exploration on it, but my goodness though, driving around this map is not only going to be really fun, at least for me anyway. I do feel like a lot of people are also going to like it. There is also going to be radiant prizes everywhere, speed traps everywhere, and you can actually make money by legitimately driving around, so I think it would encourage that. And that's also going to make the entire exploration thing, but also the entire like map thing an even better way to do it. I really wish other games had that. Like I remember back in the Crew 1, you can actually make money driving around. You can also find like stuff. You can actually find like wrecks and stuff like that. I wish they would bring that into more games. But on top of that, though, you would have to have a bigger map, though, and most likely more areas that you could actually explore for something like that to work. And that will immediately bring me into the next thing I did want to talk about. One of the things, guys, everybody wants in a racing game is going to be a big variety of different roads that you can drive around on that is going to give you a different experience. So quick example, you're going to have like the bigger highways going everywhere, like where you could go incredibly fast if you want to. Then you're also going to have some of the winding roads. Let me find a few here, like this one here, even all of these guys going up the mountains, all of those. We're also then going to have some other ones that really are going to be incredibly fun to do, like these. And there's just a lot of winding roads and curvy roads that really give you a different sense of like always going incredibly fast on a highway. So at least we also have that. The other thing I really do like about this game, though, is going to be the off-roading areas. I do know like Motorfest has them, like they are pretty dope. It is going to have mountains, like an entire off-road trail. So yes, it does work in that game as well. The thing is though, I do like the way they actually did it on this game though, because you're actually going to have winding roads everywhere that are also going to be off-road, and they're going to be in the mountains, like flying around different cliffs edges. Then on top of that though, you're also going to have less room for error, because the faster you go, the easier you can fly off a cliff, and you probably don't want to follow the AI when flying off a cliff because they really love doing that, which is honestly pretty dang hilarious. But I do know for a fact though, I can't be the only one that's really enjoying this map though. Now don't get me wrong guys, I do know people are probably going to come through and go, man, like this map is tiny. Funny thing is, we're also getting an entire map expansion in legitimately 3 months or so, so that's going to add on to this one, and that map is also going to be a 1-1 scale similar to this one. Now, I'm not 100% sure how accurate like the Hong Kong Island map is. I would actually like to know people that have been there or people who have lived there to see how truly accurate this map really is to the actual real-life counterpart. Now, as I did mention earlier, they did end up changing some of like the pathways and stuff. Like, for example, guys, you know those small trails you actually see around the map? Those are most likely going to be widened walking paths that you would most likely not be able to take a car on. But of course, for this game, you will be able to because it's not Grand Theft Auto. So you're probably not going to get out of your car and go explore a mountainside. That would probably make no sense. And then, of course, the actual small roads in like the city parts are also going to be a tad bigger. That way you can drive on them. Like, stuff like that does make sense. Like, I do understand it. Imagine having like a bunch of roads or paths that you can't go on, but they're just there. Like, that would not be that great of an experience. So I do understand why they actually did that. And it's something I was actually thinking about a bit. Like, a lot of people are probably looking for something like this in a racing game. Now, I do know people are probably going to come through and go, well, Blocked, I don't think this map is that great. In fact, it's too small. Not a lot of stuff to do on it. Like, the entire map's too open. I do understand that's probably going to be a thing because every racing game nowadays has some type of flaws to it. Let's be honest there. But even then, though, every game is still going to have its positives. Like, I really do like the fact that you can actually go into the suburbs on here, drive around normally, find some weird pathways that wouldn't even be on your mini-map, or even on the actual map itself. The fact that there's actually roads everywhere that normally aren't there, and you have to find them, is a pretty dope thing to add to it. You're then also going to have a couple of racetracks you can test cars on. You're also then going to have some, like, weird island areas with, like, different types of roads. Kind of like open, kind of not. There's also traffic everywhere, so it's actually going to feel like a bit more of like a populated thing. And I did actually notice a few people saying like there's no pedestrians in the game, but no, there actually is. There's just not like walking all over the place. But if you go into like the cities and certain places like the parks and the mountains, you will actually see people sitting at like the tables, being in like the areas and basically like eating or like closed off sections. Kind of like a cool touch to actually show the game that has like some type of life to it, which I do actually like the fact that they did end up adding a small feature like that, that they didn't necessarily have to add to it, but wanted a few more pieces of detail in the actual map. Now, I also want to know your guys' thoughts on this in the comments below. Would you actually prefer like the entire like pedestrians walking everywhere? Would you like every city being like insanely dense with it? I would most likely guess it's probably going to be similar to like the Crew 2 how they would do it, or at least something like Need for Speed Unbound, which also had like the AI walking around. I do like that. It kind of gives like the entire city like an actual live part of it. But again though, I do actually like they did end up adding AI into the cities where you can see them, and you actually see like people in the parks, you know, people in different areas. So at least it's kind of there. Now, one thing I did also want to talk about was like the actual driving and racing on this map. I don't know what it is, guys, but I do feel like this map is actually pretty dang big. Once again, I do know it's around 600 kilometers or something like that, which is, you know, pretty dang big for that matter for a map. But a lot of people might look at this map and go, man, like this thing is tiny. There's not a lot of places to drive around. And I do feel like it depends what car you drive. Like, if you are driving something like a Bugatti, sure, you're probably going to get around the map faster. But if you're actually like cruising around in like a classic car, I do feel like the map is actually going to feel much bigger with the way that it does actually feel. It's kind of hard to explain. Now, that probably doesn't make all that much sense because if you are looking at the map like zoomed out, you're probably like, oh, what do you mean, Block? Like, the map is tiny. I just feel like once you're actually driving in it, it does have a good size to it that most players are probably going to enjoy. But do let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Do you really like the new map in Test Drive? And do keep in mind again that we're also going to be getting Ibiza coming up in December. That's going to also be a 1-1 scale. So that's going to be even more places to to drive around on, including Hong Kong Island, but I just feel like most players definitely enjoy this map, at least from what I have seen when looking at social media in the recent days. Most players seem to be enjoying it.